Mushihimesama. This is a video explaining what I kind of thought of the entire game. I feel like shmup games are really, really hard. With not a lot of public information on how to get good at them or how to complete them properly. So I wanted to make this video kind of like explaining how long it took me to 1cc this game. For the uninitiated, a 1cc is a 1 credit clear. So 1 credit clear is when you finish a game without losing 3 lives or however many lives that game normally gives you before game over. In Mushihimesama in particular, it gives you 3 lives. After you die, you can continue on the home ports. On the arcade, you would have had to put a quarter or 2 quarters in, whatever. But that being said, the 1cc is usually considered like clearing the game. My webcam is all in a weird place. But the thing I kind of wanted to talk about, not just necessarily like how to get good at a shmup, but like my complicated feelings on how much time I spent to 1cc this game, when like the biggest question at the end of the day is like, did I enjoy doing it? Because if you're not enjoying like playing a video game, then like why would you play it? And I have complicated feelings on it because the concept of like completing such an insurmountable task is like exciting to me. But if the immediate action or the immediate gameplay is like not engaging or not exciting to do, then why would you do it at all? Like, why would you waste all the time of like playing the game just for that like one moment of like, oh my god, I did it. I like not 100% did it. 1cc'd it. I do think I enjoyed this game, but I think I was not frustrated while playing the game. I never had moments of like rage quitting or like being like mad at the game for like something happening where like I couldn't have possibly known that it was going to happen. Everything that happens in this game is pretty. There's no RNG in Mushihimesama. Like, everything works based off of where you are on screen. There are maybe 2 or 3 things that happen in the game that are RNG dependent. There's a enemy pattern later in the game that I'll like point out when it happens that is like just RNG. That's a really bad death there, so I died just at that moment. Normally I would have reset there. But I've also been trying to practice just run a run till it's over. Like, don't reset based off of like stupid things that happen. Just like play the end of the set. So like normally you would, when you die there, this is a bad place to die. This is level 2 out of 5. So normally you'd want to get much further. But in terms of like public information for like getting good at shmups, there is a really good channel called Shmup Junkies, which recently has changed a bit. The guy who owns it, who I actually don't know the name of, but he has recently turned it more into like a community-oriented channel where like people submit videos to him and then he curates whether or not the video gets put in. Don't quote me, that's not like specifically what he said, but like that's recently, it's kind of like changed hands. That being said, I'm kind of getting distracted here. He made a really good video talking about like how to get good at shmups in like 7 days or whatever, where he talks about like things you want to keep in mind when improving in a bullet hell or a shmup. Some of the biggest things, memorization is a factor. For those who don't like play the genre, like when you watch gameplay like this, there are things that might seem impressive that are not impressive. There are things that are impressive that might not seem that way to the untrained eye. Like, I've run this game so many hundreds of times and had to memorize like kind of like what is coming up next, or like mentally think about like, okay, for this next like group of enemies that's coming up, I'm gonna stay on one side of the screen and like slowly move to the right, or like something like that, just to like mitigate the issues that can arise like when certain patterns happen. But that all being said, like very little of like bullet hells is reaction based. Like very little of my gameplay is me seeing a bullet come towards me and dodging it based simply on reaction time. That does happen. That is a piece of it. But largely what I'm trying to do a lot of the time is weave around the screen in a way that prevents me from being walled. It's kind of like stacking a tower in Tetris. Like, you're not necessarily looking for the perfect piece. You're just trying to avoid really like screwing yourself over. I know it's not the perfect analogy, but like if you play Tetris, you're trying to like mitigate like creating bad situations for yourself rather than just like reacting, if that makes sense. Um, so this boss in particular used to give me like a lot of trouble. A big part of like improving has been like being okay with like losing. And actually, like I think playing through Spelunky was a good like teacher for this. Like I was so focused before on like having the perfect run that I was getting so stressed out when things were going well, and then that stress would end up causing like me losing. Whereas I think a lot of my improvement recently in like Mushihimesama has been like being okay with like losing, or like being okay with like learning through losing, um, and just like being able to calm down during like runs. Whereas before, I would always be so amped up and like worried, like, oh my god, I've made it farther than I ever have before. Like I need to, and then like even having that thought would just like spiral off into just me losing because I couldn't like just stay focused on the game or like relax or like breathe for a second. That's like a major part of being able to like finish this game, is because it does have like practice areas that you can like practice your run. Um, and that was a thing that was frustrating to me in a way, was like when I was trying to get initially good at the game, I would just like go into a level and then just like run it over and over and over again until I could do it on like a single like life or maybe like a single credit. And then I would play the actual main mode, and once I got to that level I would like die immediately, and that was really confusing to me. And I think it largely was because like I had trained so much, and then when I couldn't calm down and just apply that training in like a calm way, that's what was causing me to like mess up. So being able to just like breathe for a second is like such a like big piece of being able to like succeed. um Largely that is kind of like my ethos towards this approach of this game. It took me 175 hours to get the 1cc of this game. So for some shmup fans who might be watching this, maybe that's like a miserable number. Maybe it should have taken me like 10 hours. Like I don't know what the normal like clear time is for this kind of game, but that's how long it took me. um, Maybe other shmups I play, or like bullet hells I'll play, like won't be nearly that long. Like I'm a really big fan of like older shmups. I do not play many bullet hells, so like I beat Gradius Gaiden, not on a 1cc, but they allot you 10 continues of that game, so I finished that yesterday, and that took me like 3-ish months of like playing on and off like in the mornings. And that was a much, in my opinion, a much simpler experience than this like really required me to like memorize how exactly the game worked, and just do run after run after run. Whereas like Gradius Gaiden, I think I like played maybe 2 games a day. Um, but so all that being said, like kind of the backstory of like the amount of time that I put into like a shmup, I kind of wanted to complete this game because like in my frustration, I really wanted to like talk about why I didn't like this game a lot. Like I found it like so anti-player a lot of the time. Um, a lot of shmups and a lot of like arcade games like this found their home in the arcade, and like those games make their profits by kind of like quarter munching is like a lot of the time what people say, but like there's big dialogue over like difficult games and how you can make a game as hard as you want as long as it's fair, or like there's this whole conversation about like as long as your game's fair, it's okay to make it like amped up to like 11. But in the case of this game, I felt it was kind of like nasty and like not slimy, but like it was weird to me that I was playing this game where Cave, I'm sure there are people at Cave who want to make like an awesome game or whatever, and I'm sure that is 100% true. But at the same time, it felt like weird running this game where it was intentionally made to like get money out of people in an arcade based on its difficulty. I don't know the full story, but in a way that like kind of dampened my entire experience of like playing it, was thinking about how like, oh, this is like a quarter muncher game. But I know that for the elitists, or like for the I guess I should say like arcade purists, I know quarter muncher does not exactly mean that. Like quarter muncher is, oh, that's also a really bad death. I should not have got hit by that. That all being said, the biggest thing I wanted to like walk away from this was like trying to figure out like, did I have fun playing Mushihimesama? And I think in a lot of ways I did. but the tedium of this game made it really hard to like acknowledge the fun or like recognize when I was having fun. I think if there was a way to make this game completable realistically in like the matter of 7 or 8 hours, I feel like the actual story or like atmosphere of the game would have had more of an impact on me when I say that. So like if you separate like a game from like its art, if you stripped back like the Beatle motif, if you strip back the music, if you strip back the sound effects, if you strip back like any of the fancy graphics, like what is left in like the game, I think the game part is like very well made, but I feel like a lot of the aesthetics and like atmospheric decisions ended up not having as much of an impact on me because I just saw them over and over and over again, which I know it doesn't really make like a ton of sense, but I feel like if I played this game for 6 or 7 hours, I would have walked away with it of more of a memory than like the tedium of seeing it for 175 hours on just like a repeat cycle, if that makes any sense. Like there are cool set pieces in this game. In particular, like level 3 has this giant walking monster that was in the previous level, and like that walking monster is like a set piece that I feel like a player can like walk away from this game being like, oh, that was a cool experience. But this being like a game with quotes around it, like this game is so like game focused, if that makes any sense. It's so laser focused intense on its moment to moment, like what is the player doing, like shooting. I feel like the more big moments fall by the wayside because that's not the kind of game that this is. Like in an extreme sense, like if you wanted that, you would play a game like, I don't know, Metal Gear Solid. That's going to have like big moments that are not as focused on the gameplay. Metal Gear Solid has lots of like gameplay moments, but you know, so much of Metal Gear Solid is it's like big cutscenes or like big, you know, voice directing and you know all the flashy cinematic stuff. And this game is not like cinematic. I guess this segment that I'm playing through right now is also like a big moment in a way. Like this whole like dragon flying section is like memorable, but it felt weird in a way to play a game for so long that did not have like any meat in terms of its like storytelling to me. But I also understand that is not the genre for this. Like that is not what this game is like set out to do. It is set out to make like a very intense arcade experience. Like that is its goal. So I kind of lean more towards going back to like Gradius Gaiden or any of the Gradius games or like R-Type. I feel like there's much bigger like set pieces in those games that like I walk away from like thinking about. Like R-Type has like similarly on level 3 it has like a giant like spaceship battleship thing, and like that is like something I remember about that game. I don't remember like tiny little like enemy encounters or like I don't know. It's just like walking away with like memories from a game I think is like important to me. And I don't know how many like memories from this game that I have. It's solely if you're gonna play a bullet hell, it truly has to be for like I like to dodge enemy patterns. That's like what you have to go in with the mindset of. If you're not interested in that concept, then like the game won't be interested to you. Going off of that, there's like much more in-depth stuff that you can like think about when playing a bullet hell. That being said, like I think the depth really comes from like the scoring systems, and the scoring system was something that I did not get engaged with like really at all while playing this game. I only was playing Mushihimesama actually for 2 reasons. One, to get the 1cc, and 2, because when I bought it, I thought it was Mushihimesama Futari, which is the second game, and I think I like the aesthetic of that game a lot more. And I do want to play that one to see if I end up walking away from that game being like, yeah, it was awesome the entire time and I loved it. Whereas this game, I kind of played out of the stubbornness. Like, I just wanted to see it all the way through. I guess, like, in this final stage that's coming up, I'll talk about, like, what I liked about the game. Just, like, because I don't want to make this seem like I'm just talking about, like, trash on Mushihimesama for, like, 20 minutes straight. Like, I did enjoy parts of this game, and I enjoyed things about it. I enjoyed things about its design, and I think it is a very smart and intelligently designed game. So those things that I think are intelligent is it does not give you a ton of options for customization, but what it does give you gives you options for different playstyles if you're struggling. So if you're there's three ships that you can choose at the beginning. Each has a different shot type, and each has a different speed. And based on your ship speed, you can like approach problems and puzzles significantly differently. So I ended up going with the fastest ship just because I decided I was so bad at like micro dodging, like doing tiny little movements to like avoid a lot of bullets. It was so much easier for me to like just completely go around like waves that I decided the fastest ship in the game was just going to be what made the most sense for me. Something I like about this game is if you blow up larger enemies, which I'm about to do to this flag catcher plant, all the bullets on screen disappear, and so that lets you like develop a strategy on how to like fight through these super complicated stages. I would have loved more stuff like this. This was like a cool idea to me, was that instead of fighting all these popcorn enemies, I could just like sweep in really slowly and destroy these massive enemies to bullet cancel, I believe it's called. And that felt like smart. That felt like a cool idea for this game. And it changed up the like immediate gameplay from just being like shoot the next enemy and dodge bullets to like very purposely like aiming in on a single enemy and like taking him out to like pull off the rest of my plan. So here's like one of my favorites is like you destroy the one on the right and then you have to like slowly sweep over to the left one. That's cool. That's something I really liked. I really liked the bomb system in this game. Like I know it's used in lots of other kind of bullet hells, but planning out like, okay, what are patterns that I simply just can't really dodge, and when do I want to bomb to just get through them, was like a smart strategizing part of the game to me. For a game that is largely based on like reactions, I feel like planning out like when to use your bombs and how to use your bombs was the vanilla to its chocolate. Like it was the one side thing to just like flavor up the basic gameplay, because like if you watch this gameplay, it largely just looks like I'm dodging bullets. But something that I'm thinking about behind the scenes like a lot is, do I save my bomb or when do I use my bomb? Because if I can make it a little further, I can maybe get another life, or I can do XYZ. Actually, I need to check here because I'm about to hit 750,000 points. No, 7 million? Yeah, 7,500,000. Okay, I went past it. I was curious if it was every 25k or every 250,000 that you get another life, but that is not the case. You can also kind of plan around that. Like, if you're doing bad in the beginning of the game, you can also plan around the fact that there's like one up halfway or most of the way through stage one, and then yeah, like I just said, you can score enough points to get extra lives as well, which is also every stock that you get, every life stock that you get gives you another bomb or 3 bombs. So you can also plan around your like playthrough around that. So there is a little bit of leeway with like how to strategize getting through this game. There's not just like one way to win, which is initially, as I started playing the game like more and more, one of the biggest things that was frustrating to me. It seemed like the player choice was getting significantly more and more narrow. It felt like I didn't have like agency in like how I played the game. It largely just felt like I have to dance this dance perfectly or I lose. And that was like such a boring concept to me. I know there are games that focus largely just around memorization, but I still feel like even in those games, there is some amount of like player creativity, whereas here, the more I played it, the less I felt like I was in control of like the driver's seat, if that makes any sense. Like, I felt like I wasn't choosing, I was just reacting to what was happening on screen. But then I kind of got over that hump and realized as the more aggressively you play, the more you start to realize that there's on-the-fly thinking versus just like trying to get one very specific strategy down and nail that, which I think is kind of like the wrong way to play the game, or like the way that I wouldn't want to play the game, which is unfun to me. The times that this game is the most fun is that like on the fly thinking, and then your decision making is like correct. I think that's like when this game's at its best. But yeah, pretty much like this is the final boss, and it really comes down. I'll let it play out, but I have 2 bombs left. I'm down to my last life. I've practiced this boss so many times, and I really don't have many of its patterns down. So I am trying to just hold out on each pattern as long as I possibly can. It's funny because there I like bombed immediately, but now I have 0 bombs, 0 lives, and I just kind of like weave through these last few patterns. And there you go. That's the end of the 1cc. That's the end of the Mushihimesama run. But yeah, that's kind of like I kind of wanted to make like a 2 cent video on like my opinions on like what it was like to like 1cc a bullet hell. This is the first like bullet hell that I've truly ever 1cc'd. I finished some other ones, like I played like, funny enough, Musha, which is a different game for the Sega Genesis. I played lots of like old shmups and 1cc'd those, but like those games compared to this generation of bullet hells is such a big time gap in terms of like development, that like what a shmup was back then and like what a shmup is now is such a different beast entirely, and made for such a different market, that they're just like two entirely different things. So like beating a shmup that's like old is still difficult. Like it was still really hard to beat like Musha or like old Gradius games, like totally. But having to like play through this game and 1cc it was, yeah, very big like undertaking. But if you are interested in bullet hells, definitely give it a shot. I think this game goes on sale for like crazy prices every once in a while, so I would say definitely like go for it. I would also say like anyone can do it. Like it took me really long to beat this game, but it just like was a lot of patience, a lot of practice, a lot of research. Like I didn't want to do research initially. I wanted to like solve everything in the game by myself, but eventually I had to watch like other people play the game as well to like see if there were strategies I was missing. But yeah, I would just say like if you truly don't enjoy it, then don't play it. But like otherwise, like they can be a cool genre, and like dodging bullets and patterns is cool. And I think there is something to this genre. I do not think going for like the crazy scores and everything is for me, but like one seeing this game was like an interesting experience that I would suggest other people try out. But yeah, like I said before, if you don't like it, then you don't like it, and that's kind of it. But anyways, I just wanted to make this video because I was really excited to 1cc a game. But I guess like perfectly signing off. There we go. 1cc of Mushihimesama. Thank you. Bye.